You have a vision board, a notes app full of ideas, a YouTube history full of motivation. You've read the books, listened to the podcasts, watched the videos. You know exactly what you want and exactly what it would take to get there. And you have done almost none of it. This isn't about intelligence. You're clearly intelligent. This isn't about desire. You clearly want it. This is about something much deeper, something psychology has a name for. And once you understand it, the paralysis finally makes sense. If this is your first time here, welcome to Wisdom Forgotten. Subscribe. We take ancient Eastern wisdom and modern psychology and turn them into tools you can actually use. Now let's get into it. Let's start with the most important reframe in this entire video. You are not lazy. Lazy people don't feel the weight of their unlived potential. Lazy people don't spend hours consuming content about the life they want. Lazy people don't carry the constant low-grade guilt of knowing exactly what they should be doing and not doing it. That guilt, that specific, exhausting, ever-present guilt, is actually evidence of how much you care. The problem is not caring. The problem is something happening between the caring and the doing, and that something has a name. Psychologists call it intention-action gap, the measurable, documented, clinically studied distance between what people intend to do and what they actually do. Research shows that up to 94% of people regularly fail to act on their stated intentions. 94%. This is not a personal failure. This is a human condition. The question is not why do some people have this gap. The question is what makes the gap so large in some people and what closes it. To understand that, we need to go deeper than behavior. We need to go into identity. Because the intention-action gap is never really about the action. It's always about the identity underneath it. Specifically, the gap between who you dream of becoming and who your nervous system currently believes you are. And your nervous system always wins. Here is what is actually happening inside the person who dreams big but does nothing. On the surface level, they want success. They want the business, the body, the relationship, the creative life. The vision is vivid. The desire is real. But beneath that surface level, at the level of the nervous system and the subconscious mind, there is a belief running silently in the background. A belief that was installed so early and so quietly that it doesn't feel like a belief. It feels like reality. And that belief says, people like me don't actually get those things, or wanting too much leads to disappointment, or if I try and fail, I'll have nothing left to protect me, or the most devastating one of all, what if I try everything and discover I'm not capable? At least right now, I still have the dream. The moment I act, I risk losing even that. This is what psychologists call self-handicapping, a documented cognitive strategy where people unconsciously create conditions that make failure less threatening. If I never really try, I never really fail. The dream stays intact, the self-image stays protected, the possibility, however unrealized, remains alive. Inaction is not the absence of a strategy, it is the strategy. A strategy your psyche developed to protect something it values more than success, your sense of self, your protection from the pain of discovering your limits. The Japanese concept of mu speaks to this directly. Mu means emptiness or nothingness, but in Zen philosophy, mu is not a void, it is a space of pure potential. The problem with the chronic dreamer is not that they live in mu, it is that they have confused mu, the space of potential, with arrival. They have made the potential itself the destination. Staying in the space of what could be feels safer and even more beautiful than the messy, imperfect, humbling reality of what is. The dream, in other words, has become a home. And leaving home, even for something better, always feels like loss. So what else is feeding this pattern? 3 psychological forces working together. The first is called outcome simulation. Research by psychologist Gabriele Oettingen showed something counterintuitive and important. Vividly imagining your desired future, really seeing it, feeling it, living in it mentally, actually reduces motivation to pursue it. Because your brain, which cannot fully distinguish between imagined and real experience, partially registers the goal as already achieved. The dopamine that should be driving you toward the goal has already been released in the fantasy. You've had the reward without doing the work. and so the urgency disappears. The vision board is not pushing you forward. For many people, it is quietly letting them off the hook. The second force is perfectionism. Not the perfectionism of someone who produces flawless work, the perfectionism of someone who produces nothing, because nothing produced can ever match the perfection of the thing imagined. In the mind, the business is extraordinary, the book is brilliant, the body is transformed. In reality, the first attempt will be clumsy and imperfect and humbling. And for the perfectionist, clumsy and imperfect feels like proof of inadequacy rather than evidence of beginning. So they stay in the mind, where everything is still perfect, where they are still capable, where the dream is still safe. The third force is what psychologist Roy Baumeister called ego depletion. Decision-making and willpower draw from the same finite cognitive resource. Every time you consume more content about your goal instead of acting on it, every podcast, every book, every video, your brain registers cognitive effort. It feels like progress. It creates the sensation of productivity without the output of productivity. And it drains the same reservoir that actual action would require. You are spending the energy of doing on the performance of learning and arriving at the end of each day genuinely tired from a day of elaborate, sophisticated, high-quality inaction. Now, here's where Eastern philosophy offers something modern psychology alone cannot. Psychology explains the mechanism. Philosophy addresses the root. And the root, according to both Zen Buddhism and Taoist teaching, is attachment to outcome combined with fear of impermanence. The chronic dreamer is deeply attached to two things simultaneously: the dream itself, the perfect version of the future they've constructed, and their current identity, the person who has potential, who could be great, who hasn't been tested yet and therefore hasn't failed yet. Both of these are forms of clinging, and the Zen teaching on clinging is unambiguous. That which you cling to most tightly is exactly what imprisons you. The dream you refuse to risk is the dream you will never live. The identity you protect from testing is the identity that never grows.
The Taoist concept of Pu, the uncarved block, offers a different frame. Pu represents the state of pure potential, original nature before conditioning, before fear, before the accumulated weight of what other people thought of you and what past experiences taught you to expect. The chronic dreamer has access to Pu. They can feel the potential, but they've added something to it that shouldn't be there. They've added the condition that the potential must be guaranteed before it can be expressed, that the outcome must be certain before the action can be taken. And that condition, that demand for certainty in an uncertain world, is what locks them in place forever. So what actually breaks this pattern? Not motivation, not more content, not another vision board. Three things. The first is called mental contrasting. Gabrielle Oettingen's research, the same researcher who showed fantasy reduces motivation, also showed the cure. Instead of only visualizing the dream, you must also vividly imagine the specific obstacles standing between you and it. What will go wrong? What will be hard? What will make you want to quit? This is not pessimism. This is implementation. Your brain needs the full picture, the destination and the terrain, to generate real motivation and real planning. Dream and obstacle together. This is called WOOP: wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. It is one of the most rigorously tested motivational frameworks in psychology, and it takes 5 minutes. The second is identity-based micro-action. Not, I will build a business, but I am someone who works on their business for 15 minutes today. Not, I will get fit, but I am someone who moves their body right now for 10 minutes. The action is small enough that the nervous system doesn't sound the alarm, but the identity statement is large enough to begin the rewiring. Every time you complete the micro-action, your brain updates its model of who you are, slowly, consistently, irresistibly. You are not waiting until you feel like the person who does this. You are doing it until you become them. The third is what the Zen masters called Ichinen: one thought, one moment, one action, complete in itself. Not the whole journey, not the finished product, not the guaranteed outcome. This one step, this one sentence, this one email, this 1 minute of work. Ichinen removes the paralyzing weight of the entire mountain and replaces it with the manageable reality of one stone. You don't need to see the whole path. You need to take one step, and then the next step reveals itself. It always does, but only to people who are already moving. Here's what I want to leave you with. The gap between your dreams and your life is not evidence that you are not enough. It is evidence that you have been waiting for a guarantee that was never coming. Certainty is not available before you begin. It is only available after. The courage is not in knowing it will work. The courage is in moving without knowing, in writing the first sentence without knowing if the book will be good, in starting the business without knowing if it will succeed, in showing up as the person you want to become before you feel like that person. The dream has been waiting for you long enough. It doesn't need more planning. It doesn't need more research. It doesn't need more motivation. It needs one thing, the same thing it has always needed: you moving now. Not perfectly, not confidently, not with certainty, just moving. That's all it ever took. Subscribe to Wisdom Forgotten, drop a comment where you're watching from, and what is the one dream you've been carrying without acting on? Name it in the comments. That naming is the first act of courage. I read every single one. See you in the next video.